Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now today we are going to have a look at a spider that we've not shown on the Beastie Room. I don't think we have. Now we've had many people wanting to see a few more of the beginner style spiders because apparently we don't cover them enough. So we are going to address that today, and we are going to cover a spider that is probably, I would imagine, probably the most commonest tarantula in the hobby of today. It has taken over from the Grammostola rosea, the Chili rose, which was the spider back in the day. That used to be the commonest. And I believe this one is probably the commonest now, and that is the Aphonopelma seemanni. Now, we have a couple here. Now, these really are an absolutely beautiful spider, and they are seriously overlooked. And one of the reasons this is because they are just so common. So a lot of people are like, because they're common, I don't actually want one. So, but you're missing out on an awful lot. They really are a cracking spider. So what we're going to do, we are going to set up this glass enclosure here, and this is going to be plenty big enough for an adult spider. This is another thing that we often get asked about, you know, what is the optimum sizes for different things? And I tend to work out my size enclosures. Generally speaking, I work them out on the activity of the spider and what it gets up to. If it's not a particularly active spider, I don't feel the need to give it a massive great enclosure. Most of them don't require huge homes anyway. A lot of them will stress out if they're given too much space. So I find keeping everything down into a sensible optimum is best. This sort of style is plenty. I don't know actually how big this is. This is, in fact, it's 18 centimeters from front to back, and it is 36 centimeters long. And what is it high? Not a lot. 18 centimeters high. So it's not a massive enclosure, but it's more than enough for a terrestrial spider like this. Now these are a New World spider. As the name suggests, their common name is the Costa Rican zebra, and as that suggests, they come from Costa Rica. Not surprising really, is it? It's all in the name. So yeah, the Costa Rican zebra. Now they're also found throughout different parts of Central America as well, and they are quite widespread. In terms of numbers, this is a spider that is collected in huge numbers throughout the year, just as the rosea was back in the day, and also the smithy, you know. And now there's more in the way of protection for these spiders. The rosea and the smithy, they are protected now. Imports are much less, and eventually it will happen in America as well, and these guys will come under some form of protection. So because of the way they stand at the moment, we need to be doing as much as we can ourselves in the hobby to ensure that we can secure these guys in the hobby, you know, and try and stop some of the importation. Not necessarily stop the importation, but slow down the numbers. They are collected in huge numbers. So whenever we can, it would be an idea to try and breed these really common spiders, because what's common today, I guarantee you, will not be common in 10 years' time. They'll have been gone because no one took an interest in them. So we need to sort of try and sort that out now, today. Right then, what we're going to do, we're going to set this up. Now we've got a real, this is one of our hodgepodge mixes of different substrates that we've had in various different enclosures that we use again. And remember, we've said it's ideal to make use of this stuff. Don't throw it away. As long as it's come from spiders that aren't like really bad hair kickers, things like that, we can use this stuff again and again and again. And it's absolutely ideal. It's really cool. There's no point in wasting it. It's expensive at the end of the day. So we're going to stick a little bit more in here. You notice we're putting quite a bit in here. Now, now with these, this is another thing that's often comes up in the hobby. How much substrate? Now, of course, we do have the substrate warriors out there. You know, all these people that scream blue murder if you don't get enough substrate in your tarantula enclosure. Now, when it comes to substrate, if you read up and look at the Costa Rican zebra, it will tell you that they are tremendous burrowers. They burrow deep down. They do have a deep burrow in the wild. Now, this is entirely true in the wild state. So you might sit there and think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, we've only got a couple of inches here. Is this going to be enough for this deep burrowing spider? Yes, it is. Because if you read on, you'll also see in there that half the reason is that they dig these deep burrows is because of the heat. And they need to go down deep to escape the midday sun, because it comes in and it bakes the top half of the earth, and in turn, if they were in a shallow burrow, it would bake the spider as well. Hence, they dig deeper. This is common sense, really. So in the wild, we've not got intense heat sitting above this enclosure, so we don't need to worry about giving it a deep substrate. As long as our spider feels secure, it will be happy. It really doesn't need to be overthought more than that. Now then, we're also going to do, these guys live out in a scrubland, so we are going to try and, we got some really nice stone here. I love this stuff. This is dragon stone, and we use it in aquariums, in our fish tanks. It's been out in the garden, so we're going to give it a little brush here. Now, dragon stone, look at the markings and the texture of this stuff. It's actually a very, very soft stone as well, so you can literally crumble it away. It's beautiful stuff, really nice. It's very heavy though, so we have to be careful. So what we're going to do, we are going to put a bit of this in here. And that. And we've got some other stuff here as well. It's got such lovely texture, so we can make use of it. We've also got some fake plant here as well, and as we found out before, a lot of these spiders, they will trash living plants, so we can put a bit of fake stuff in there just to add a little bit of colour, give it a little bit of extra, and it just makes for a little bit more of an interesting enclosure. Put that bit in there. Yeah, we've got all sorts in here. We don't need to use it all. In actual fact, that'd probably do it, to be fair. We don't want a huge amount. Now we can add a little bit of bark as well. What we got? Don't need a massive bit. Why is it you can never find a small bit when you want it? Maybe this little bit here. Maybe use that. That's better. That's better. So we can use this. You'll be able to dig down into there and disappear if she so wishes. We've got a wall.
The tank a little bit forward so we get the reflection of this. That's better.
I'm gonna put a water bowl over here, and then we can use this. Use this and like this. So what we're doing, we're just trying to add a little bit of texture, give a little bit of something. We can add a little bit of greenery, a little bit of artisticness there. Right, so we're going to fill our water bowl up. Now this spider, again, there is a little bit of difference of opinion in how these guys work. Now then, what we're going to have here, we've got two examples to show you here. And we're going to take the lids off. Now there is a huge variation. If you want to come over here, there is a huge variation in the colours of the Costa Rican zebra. Now the one here on your left, this is a freshly molted, what I would say is like a dark version. This is almost black. Look at the abdomen, it's absolutely black with like a pinky red guard hairs. You can see where they get the stripe knee name. They've got them white stripes on the knees. These really are a very striking spider. Very beautiful spider. Now if we look at the one on the right, this is what we are known as with the brown form. Now it's exactly the same spider, but there is such a variation in their colouring. Now quite often you'll find that when they go very, very brown like this, they're getting near a molt. And then when they molt out, they will look more like the one on the left. But some of them do carry more of a brown sort of colouring, more brown texture to their actual appearance. And this is not a different spider. This is the same spider. There's just the variation within the two. Very, very pretty spiders. And as you can see, these guys are just sitting still. They're not doing anything. Now if we look at the brown one here, you can see there's been a little bit of action on the back of the abdomen there, where she has kicked up some hairs. These are a New World spider, so their first form of defense is to kick up hairs, and then failing that they will run, and then failing that they will stand and defend themselves. Now if you see the one on the left here, this is absolutely beautiful. This one is far more relaxed in its whole demeanor, shall we say, and you can see the abdomen is absolutely beautiful. Very, very nice.
Can you open her up?
We are going to in a moment, because it's going to be this one that we're going to put in the new enclosure, and we will see how she goes. Now these are an ideal beginner spider, so if you're new to spider keeping, these are a really good first choice. One, because they're very pretty to look at, and it's not until you actually spend some time and have a real serious look at these you start to appreciate just how nice they are. They are so underrated for such a gorgeous looking spider. Now secondly, they have relatively good behaviour. You can see this one now having a little think whether it's going to go on a little walk around, have a little move. Now they are generally well behaved and quite docile, but there are instances where some of these can be very defensive. So we often see with the so-called beginner spiders that people say, oh, these are great handling spiders and things like that. I wouldn't suggest you physically handle these. If one happens to walk out onto your hand as you're, doing stuff, then fine. But I wouldn't necessarily open the enclosure with the full intention of picking your spider up. There's a good chance that these guys will bite you. You may never get bitten, but is it worth the chance? Much better to play on the side of caution and see how they are, because it's just not worth it. It doesn't matter how good you are with your spiders or how long you've been keeping your spiders. If you get bitten, your first reaction is to shake that thing away. And one of these, from a standing position from an adult, you flick that onto the floor, there's a very good chance you'll kill your spider. So there is no reason to be playing with them as such. So I think spiders are more of a visual thing, more of something to watch and observe, rather than get out and play with. It's not a puppy. So that being said, as a beginner spider, they are calm most of the time, so they're not so scary. They don't tend to dash about as such. They're generally fairly good. Now also as well, when we're looking at our care requirements, they're very forgiving, which again makes them something that's really good for beginners, because we don't have to worry too much about humidity. That being said, one of the things that we do see a lot of with this spider is they are kept incredibly dry, really dry. And this is something that's happened to many spiders in the hobby. I can remember 3-4 years ago, Balfouri always kept bone dry, and we always disagreed with that. We always soaked our corners. We brought our humidity up to sort of 60, sometimes 70% in our Balfouris. We even sprayed our webs and everything, you know, and people were in uproar. But now you see the benefits. People are doing it for more and more, and people are actually seeing the benefits with their Balfouri communals. They're seeing their spiders come out, you know. Humidity in careful dosages is really good. Now in the wild, these guys like a humidity anywhere between sort of 60-70% plus, and they're absolutely fine. When they dig them deep burrows in the wild, it's humid down there, and this is what they like. So we can replicate that here, and what we can do is we keep our substrate dry. As you can see here, this is dry, but what we'll do is we can moisten down this corner, and that will give us that variation. Now we've already said they don't need to burrow, and many of our spiders, even these guys, when they're given the opportunity to have a burrowing option, most of the time they will sit out on top, because they're not getting that heat. They don't need to avoid anything, so they don't need to hide that deep down. What we're going to do, we are going to put this girl in here. So we're just going to use our brush. We're just going to touch her. There we go. You notice we're just maintaining contact. Look at that bluey black sheen on her carapace. She is beautiful. Now what we're doing now is we're maintaining contact, and we're just putting a little bit of gentle pressure. She's on the move. She's moving sideways. Got to be careful. We don't want to tip it up too far, because all the substrate will fall on top of her. So we're just moving her over nice and gently. There we go. There she goes. Just move our tub back at the same time. There she is. Look at that for a beautiful spider. Isn't that absolutely lovely? Now you can see there that the blue-black sheen. Very pretty. Makes these striations on the legs stand out. Makes them really sharp. Very pretty spider. Now you'll have seen there when we moved her, we didn't get any kind of aggression from her at all. Very well behaved. And she is looking absolutely superb. And once again, we've just seen there that with gentle handling, there's no reason to upset these spiders. Now she's got a bit of cork here. She can burrow down into here and disappear, and she'll feel absolutely fine. She doesn't need anything else other than that. She will spend most of her time up on the surface. These are a good display spider. We see a lot of them. They're always out and about. So again, as a beginner spider, really are awesome. Now food wise, we're looking at feeding these a decent sized dubia roach once a week to once every 2 weeks is more than enough to maintain a good abdomen like the one on this one. You don't want to overfeed them. One of the things with many of these beginner spiders is the fact that they will eat rather rapidly. So they'll take a lot of food, and then they fast for months and months at a time, and then people get worried because their spider's not eating. So just feed it literally weekly to fortnightly, and don't overdo it, and your spider will stay healthy for many, many years. Now, in terms of temperature, this is another sort of sticking point in the hobby regarding temperature. And temperature plays a really, really big part in how our spider actually changes through its cycle. So when we see our spiders coming into pre-molt, we often get told that many of these species are very slow to molt out. Now, this is often down to temperature. So if you keep your spider at a normal room temperature here in the UK, it is going to take a while for these guys to molt out. We like to keep ours up around about the 80 degrees, and we have no problems with molting. They literally go into pre-molt, and within a month, normally they've molted out. So they've done everything they need to do. And then because of the way we feed them, we only feed them when our spider starts acting like it's hungry. So we don't have set feed days. And this is something that beginners often fall into the trap of, that they need to be providing food on set days. You don't. If your spider is not being active, then don't bother feeding it. You know, wait for it to literally show its interest and tell you basically when it's hungry. And as you can see, she's sitting there, she's quite happy. We've also got the one in the box here. This hasn't moved either. You know, she's turned around. That is about it. She's done nothing else. So what we're looking at as a beginner spider, we need heat. So we want to keep them up around about that 80 degrees, and that will keep a nice active healthy spider. Do try and get away from this room temperature business. It doesn't, what room temperature does is it gives you a maintenance, and what happens is your spider lives on a maintenance style lifestyle. So it's literally just ticking over. If you want to see the best from your spider, you need to start providing a little bit extra. So we keep ours at that 80 degrees, so we have no problems with molting. It keeps them molting out regularly. They feed regularly. We get less fasting and stuff like that. So we can carry on with that. I'm just looking down in here because I've just seen a little tiny widow spider in our bit of stone. So we will get that out. We don't want that staying in there. It wouldn't cause a problem to a big spider like this, but we don't want it in there anyway. So we will sort that out. We will catch that. And also, for all you beginners out there, feed when your spider starts becoming active, and give it small feeds. Small feeds often is better than large feeds. It's not a very good idea. So that's what we do with that. Humidity wise, we're looking at soaking the corner down. We can show you that here now actually, because this is brand new and dry. So if we look at our water bowl here, if you're new to this, you'll often hear people say you can just overflow your water bowl. So there's our water bowl. We fill it up, and it's pretty self-explanatory. By overflowing, this is what we're saying. We want it to go out. Now, as you can see there, the moisture in the soil, there isn't a lot. So it's taken a while for that to absorb it up. And then what we can do to speed things along, we can spray down in the corner like that. We should be able to see that coming through the front of the glass. So we can literally just add our bit in there like that. Now remember, when you flood a water bowl and you're looking at increasing that humidity, you must take into account the room in which you keep your spider. So we know for a fact that in ours, we've actually put quite a bit of water down there, and we can see it there now. We can see the darkness in the colour of the substrate. This is what we're using. The colour of the substrate is the guide. So we know that in our room, we can put quite a bit of water in this corner, and it will gradually disappear in the form of humidity, because we are sitting at 80 degrees. So it's nice and warm in here. Now, if this was in your living room and you've got your doors open, your back doors open, your windows are open because it's a sunny day, it's going to be really cool in your room. So your spider will shrink down because it's much cooler. Same as we do. You know, if you get an overcast day, you sit in the sunshine, it's lovely and warm, you're really enjoying it. Cloud comes over and you're like, oh, that's a bit chilly. You know, it's exactly the same kind of thing. So when you overflow your water bowl, bear in mind the conditions outside in your room where you're keeping your spider. If it's a bit on the cool side, you're not going to want quite so much because it will not evaporate at any decent rate. It will just sit there, and you need warmth for water to evaporate. So you've got to try and tie these things in. So as a beginner, just overflow very, very slightly. As long as your spider has got that water to drink, it will be fine. Don't worry adversely about the humidity. You know, humidity is only really important when it comes down to having more of a temperature, and this is how we gauge it and we move it around. So with these, they're very, very forgiving, and they will put up with a drier situation. So just bear that in mind. Something to think about in the future. We will go over it again in a later video about this humidity, because it still seems to be quite confusing to many people. We have done a couple of videos in the past, so check them out and it will give you an outline of what we're discussing here. Right. Well, I think that's an absolutely beautiful spider. They've both been very well behaved. Very cool. We are going to leave them now. Have a bit of peace and quiet. We'll give her a couple of days to settle in and then we'll feed her. Always best to let them settle down and just let them become accustomed to their new surroundings, because if we put food in there now, some will take it, but many of them will shy away. They'll be a little bit cautious, and we don't want that. We want them to settle in first. Right. Well, I hope you liked our Costa Rican zebra leg. Lovely little spider. Don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I will see you soon, guys.